Welcome, everybody. I see so many people, so many friends by now that are logging in. I recognize many of you. Thank you for joining us again this week in Live with Dr. McDougall. And I'm Gustavo Tolosa, the webinar host. And today, this week, I find myself in Argentina, and through the magic of the internet, we are connected from all the way down here to Santa Rosa, California, to all over the world. We see people really from all over. Thank you for joining us. Today I've asked Dr. McDougall, and he has graciously accepted to do a little bit of a master class on the Starch Solution, or a whole diet, because we all need a reminder every now and then, and we have new people that log in all the time, and we're bombarded with conflicting information. So it's good to hear from the mouth of the one and only Dr. McDougall what Starch Solution is about. Dr. McDougall, how are you doing in California today, in Santa Rosa?
Good. We missed seeing some people. I got this new camera, so
you got fancy on it.
Yeah, I'm trying to get myself looking better all the time.
Thank you for joining. Very good.
I did.
And I understand that I understand that Mary's going to join us in a little bit.
Well, she's going to be here in a little bit. All right. Well, you want to just kind of have an overview for people who are just joining us, and I know it's going to be a repeat for many of you, but just start by telling you that I'm a medical doctor. I'm a board certified internist. I hold medical licenses in 5 states. I have 3 adjunctive professorships, which means I take care of medical students on staff at 3 different medical schools. And I'm just a regular, legit doctor who takes care of people like every other doctor should. But what I do different is I take care of dietary diseases by correcting people's diets. And that's about 80% of the chronic illness people have is dietary diseases. So what I do is, they have heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, things like that. What I do is I correct the problem. And the problem is that people are suffering from food poisoning. And if you've read the new book, I'll just show it to you. And it's not really intended to be an advertisement, but our latest effort is the book called The Healthiest Diet on the Planet. And you can find the same thing on the website, free. It's under Dr. McDougall's color picture book on food poisoning and how to cure it by eating beans, corn, potatoes, rice, sweet potatoes, and so on. And it is a color picture book. It's in about 24 languages on the website. And it's also in the centerpiece of this book, which makes this, in my opinion, and many of you have expressed the same thing, the most beautiful and powerful diet book out on the market because of the way we did it. I thank Harper One for helping us. But the basic book to understand my philosophy, and if you want to get into the details of the program, is the book that came out in 2011, which is called The Starch Solution. We have 13 national best-selling books. They all say the same thing, but differently. And no one has ever said that I resold them the same book. And so we started in 1984 selling books. The first one, McDougall Plan, sold over 500,000 copies. The program I use is based on diet. Everybody knows you should walk around. I mean, exercise is dangerous, so be careful. Don't go out, hurt yourself by getting run over by a car or falling in a rut and breaking your leg. Walking is good. You also need sunshine, absolutely crucial. I recommend against all supplements except for B12. I recommend you satisfy your appetite. God, Mother Nature, or whatever you want to believe in, did not design the human appetite improperly, or the size of your stomach was not designed improperly. Just like your thirst drive is proper. When you are thirsty, your body tells you so, and you take a glass of water, you just drink it. If you get a little fast and say you're walking and you need more oxygen, and to get rid of more carbon dioxide, what happens is your breathing drive adjusts to your needs. Well, your hunger drive is just as efficient. The problem with the hunger drive is you answer it with the wrong foods. With breath, you answer it with oxygen. With thirst, you answer it with water. And when it comes to appetite, you answer it with the correct foods, the foods designed for human beings. And there must be a food designed for human beings. It's just like I got a cat. We've talked about Einstein a lot. Actually, Einstein came in and spent the evening with me last evening. He's becoming kind of unsociable in his older years, but he came in and spent the evening with me last night. His diet is he's a carnivore. His diet is based on meat, and that's what he's supposed to eat. If you have a horse, the horse grazes. If you have a dog, they're pretty much omnivorous. But there are better diets than just anything for a dog. In fact, there are a lot of things you wouldn't feed your dog that you feed your children, like ice cream and cakes and licorice and things like that. So, birds have a specific diet and so on. If you don't believe me, Mary and I and our team, that the correct diet for the human being is what we teach, then you go find out what it is, because there is a diet that's correct. And there are people who will tell you lots of things. They'll try and convince you that you should live on an all-meat diet, bacon, butter, and brie. Those are the low-carbers. Then we have the paleo people that let you eat pretty much anything you want. And paleo goes all the way from eating 55% of your food as animals, down to new paleo followers who really limit animal food intake and tell people to eat what truly was the paleo diet. The human diet, what people have followed for all of human history, is a diet based on starch. It's a diet that is gathered, not hunted. It is a diet of hunter and gatherers. We hear that all the time. I don't think any population of people was ever pure vegan, unless it was a religious group, say a Buddhist monk group. But no natural diets were ever vegan. It's because people are opportunistic. Not that they wouldn't do better on a diet without meat. It's just that that's what people do. Not just the bulk, essentially all civilizations have obtained the bulk of their calories from starch. And the examples I give are the Mayans and Aztecs are the people of the corn. And if you think of the Far East, Japan, Cambodia, China, you think of rice. 90% of their diet before 1980 was rice. The Middle East, that's the breadbasket of the world. So when you look at various populations of people, civilized people that are large in numbers, that have been successful in their existence, what you find is all of them lived primarily on starch. And so what I recommend is that at least 70% of your diet, and probably better yet, 90% of your diet comes from starches like potatoes and sweet potatoes and corn and bread and so on. And then the rest of your diet would be non-starchy. There's Mary. Nice non-starchy green and yellow vegetables. Maybe you sit it down there. Non-starchy green and yellow vegetables like kale and broccoli and so on, and some fruits. And yeah, you'll get away with eating some eggs and some candy bars. And I'll get you in the frame here. I got my new camera.
I can move my head over.
There you go.
Hi, everybody.
I'll show you what I can do. So that's the diet. The human being is strong. It'll live on 2 packs of cigarettes a day, a half a bottle of whiskey a day, and it will live on hot dogs and hamburgers and things you wouldn't even feed your pets. But if you want to know what I believe is the correct, proper human diet, that is a starch-based diet with the addition of fruits and vegetables. Well, what we're going to do over the next half an hour or so is show you what Mary and I are going to have for dinner tonight. And you want to?
Well, we've talked about the Instant Pot before, and this is the pot, the Instant Pot. And what I have in it.
And I think I just saw on Amazon that they had a special sale.
Well, I think they do for Cyber Week or something.
Yeah, they have a special sale, and so they're really inexpensive.
So what I have we're going to have potatoes, mashed potatoes tonight. So what I have put in here are.
The dirt is off. They're just plain.
They're just plain potatoes,
Yeah.
and I'm going to add. They're not peeled or anything. I'm going to add 2 cups of water, and then I'm going to turn this on in a different room.
Yeah, okay.
To 10 minutes. with this top on it and unvented steam, so they're going to steam.
Yeah.
And in
how long?
30 minutes, I'm going to come back and they're going to be all cooked. And then I'll have my masher and I'll show people how I mash them. And I'm making the gravy.
Okay.
I'm steaming the corn.
Yeah, we're having boiled corn tonight out of a frozen package.
Oh, yeah.
And this is one of our favorite meals. It takes a little more time than some of the meals that Mary makes for us. But it is one of our favorite meals is mashed potatoes, gravy. And when people learn that creamy gravy,
I'll tell them where to find it.
Yeah, they learn that creamy gravy. I have had people write me, and you've had many people write you.
It's in this book.
Okay, it's in the Healthiest Diet on the Planet book. You put that creamy gravy on cardboard, and you need cardboard. I mean, it's just amazing.
It tastes great.
Recipe to discover.
I had someone write me that it saved their Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah. So anyway, I just suggested.
So I have to go cook them.
I just suggested that Mary put together for the webinar today what we're going to have for dinner when we get done with our activities.
This is great.
Well, I'm going to go cook them and I'll be back.
We'll see you in a minute.
All right. Okay. Very good.
All right. So I think that's pretty close to what I wanted to tell people about the diet I recommend. I've been using it for 40 years to take care of people. This is what I've been doing for 40 years is I've been feeding people a starch-based diet. I've been taking them off their medications, their blood pressure, diabetic pills, other medications. Our research is published in October of 2014. It was published in the Nutrition Journal on 1,615 people. And it shows you the results that we get. In 7 days, we get a drop in cholesterol about 23 points. With people with high blood pressure, the drop in blood pressure is about 18 over 11 millimeters of mercury. Weight loss is 3.1 pounds, which is about a kilo and a half of weight. And that's eating as much food as they want. And they're delicious things. We serve mashed potatoes at the 10-day program. So those are our published results in the Nutrition Journal. And then we also published a paper this year in multiple sclerosis and related disorders. These are free papers to get. They're open access, so you can just look them up, or they're on our website. And these are scientifically published papers reviewed by the best doctors in the fields. Our results have never been criticized. We showed 1-year results. Most impressively, 85% of the people who learned the program from us remained adherent to the diet for a year. 85%. Why? Because it tastes so good. And they got off their blood pressure pills and their diabetic pills, and their bowels are working, their indigestion's gone, and they stop their proton pump inhibitors, and they lose weight in those 7 days. Our average weight loss in a year is 20 pounds in our 1-year follow-up. That's average. And our average drop in cholesterol was 20 points. But these are people who didn't come to see us for weight and cholesterol problems. You'll do at least that good, if not better. So it's a traditional diet. It's what 99.99% of people have consumed on planet Earth. It is the most tasty diet there is. You love potatoes. You love pasta. You love sweet potatoes. You love beans. And for a reason, that's your food. You don't like chicken. Even if I take the feathers off, you wouldn't like chicken. Even if I boiled it, you wouldn't eat the chicken. I've got to cover it up with barbecue sauce or something else for you to eat it. It's the same thing with cows. Even if I took their fur and skin off and gave you a slice of their leg, you wouldn't eat it. And if I boiled it, you wouldn't eat it. The only way you would eat it is I have to heavily salt it or put some steak sauce on it. Now, my cat Einstein, right out there on the porch, Einstein, he loves that. I could give him, meat, and chicken, fish, and so on, and he loves it. So that's his diet. It's not your diet. That's why I don't like those foods. So that's what the McDougall program is. It's a way to regain your lost health and appearance. It's a permanent solution. We use no supplements except for B12, which is a topic I'm not going to get into today. And you walk around and get a little sunshine, and you get your health back. And Our findings as far as getting off medication is nearly 90% of people. This is published in the Nutrition Journal. Nearly 90% of people reduced or eliminated their blood pressure and diabetic pills and most other pills. We do write prescriptions at the clinic. I write prescriptions sometimes for thyroid medications and statins and rarely for high blood pressure pills. It's just a traditional, regular medical practice, except it's focused on fixing the problem. And the problem's food poisoning. You're dying from food poisoning caused by eating animal foods and vegetable oils. It cuts your food bill by about 60 to 80%. I mean, there's just no reason not to do it. The animals are happy. They're killing 1 billion animals a day to feed people. Planet Earth will have a better chance if you stop eating the American diet. The impact on the environment of beef compared to potatoes is 100-fold different. In fact, in California last week, our Governor Jerry Brown signed a law which is going to affect, and people are already complying, a law that reduces the amount of methane produced by cow farts. And so in the state of California, cattle farmers are going to have to greatly reduce the methane that's produced from cow waste that's put into big ground holes and comes directly out of the cow's intestine. There's a law now that was passed last week in California but better yet, the best thing to do would be to stop eating those things altogether. And then you have your health, you would have health care, the health care that you really want, which I want to talk about in a minute. You don't have to deal with moral issues of cruelty to animals. There's not one of you out there, and one of your friends that can watch a movie called Earthlings. I've seen some of the most hardened vegetarians who've seen Earthlings, this documentary, and I haven't found a person yet who could get through the entire documentary. It talks about what we're doing to the planet and the animals. It's just so startling. In fact, I'm going to go, I need a haircut. I'm going to my hairdresser in just a few minutes, and she has her car with the back windshield plastered with large letters. It says, "To become a vegan in 4.5 hours, start with Forks Over Knives, next watch Cowspiracy, and then watch Earthlings. And in 4.5 hours, you'll be a strict vegan." Now, there's more to it than being a vegan. Remember, it is starch-based, absolutely crucial, and you do not eat vegetable oils, which are very toxic, like olive oil, corn oil, and so on. Now, I want to say one more thing, Gustavo, and then you can get into some questions. I published a newsletter which came out last night. And when I told my daughter what the title of the newsletter was, she was quite upset. She worries about her dad. She's 42 years old, and she runs the McDougall program. The title of the newsletter article was "The McDougall Program Under Trump Rule." And she was worried that I was going to be derogatory towards our president-elect, say nasty things about him and so on. And when you read the newsletter, you'll find that I did not take that approach for a whole bunch of reasons. I mean, it's going to accomplish nothing, for one thing, to be negative against this man that the electorate of this country put into our presidency. So it would accomplish nothing. So what I wrote in the newsletter is I wrote that there was a Reuters poll out this month, November 2016, which asked what Americans would like Donald Trump to do during the first 100 days of his presidency. And the number one thing listed was to improve health care. Number two was to deal with jobs, and number three was to deal with immigration. So the number one concern of Americans, regardless of your politics, is health care. To me, health care means people want to heal and stay healthy. It doesn't mean they want to go to hospitals and have heart surgery and take a bag full of drugs at whatever price. So Donald Trump has been told by the electorate that the number one concern is health care. And in the newsletter, I tell you about some people who I've known and known about who've been very much involved in healthcare. In other words, healing and staying healthy, and have returned their health. And there are obvious examples that you all know about. For example, our 42nd president, William Jefferson Clinton, Bill, after his second heart surgery in 2010, March of 2010, he changed his diet, became a McDougall follower, and he's lost an awful lot of weight, I think 30 pounds, dropped his cholesterol, has had no more heart trouble. He had 2 heart surgeries before that. Of course, before that, he was eating at McDonald's, not McDougall's. And so Bill Clinton there is an example of a person who really knows what people should eat. And some folks say that Clinton is not vegan anymore or doesn't follow the diet anymore. Well, I gave you a reference from just a couple of weeks ago that Bill Clinton said that he attributes the fact that he's alive to his vegan diet. I gave you an example of our 44th president, who happened to have been one of my students when he was 15 years old at Punahou High School in Honolulu. And that's Barack Obama, who was called Barry then. And I remember him well because he was the only black student at Punahou High School. Everyone else was white or Asian. And we had several personal discussions that I remember. Why I remembered him, I didn't know who he was or who he was going to become. But I do remember those conversations very clearly. And so he knows about the right way to eat. And I do believe, regardless of what he does in his publicity arena, eating steaks and hamburgers in front of people, I think that's politics. I do believe he follows the starch-based diet that I taught him back when he was 15 years of age. His wife, Michelle, and by the way, there's a video I put there that was done in 2008 where Mr. Obama, when he was a senator, talks about vegan diets and how important it is to eat the kind of starch-based diet that we're recommending. I also put another video up there about Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama openly talks about her vegan diet. And she was on the Tonight Show, Jay Leno's show, and I have a copy of that there. I don't know how long these things are going to stay. They're in one of my newsletters several years ago, and they disappeared. So they may be taken down, but whatever, you can watch them now. And you can watch Michelle Obama talk to Jay Leno and serve him a vegan pizza and vegan no-oil fries. And it's a very, very entertaining video. So go to the newsletter, which you can get from the website or should have been mailed to you, and you'll watch these amazing videos. So we have the 42nd president, the 44th president, and his wife, who clearly understand what healthcare is. It's fixing food poisoning. And Al Gore, who was once quite overweight. Al Gore has lost 60 pounds following a diet close to ours. I talked to you about Dennis Kucinich, who was a representative from Ohio, who he and his wife Elizabeth tried to get healthier vegan meals in the school system. And also Mike Gabert from Hawaii, who's a senator in Hawaii, who's been working with me for the past decade to try to get healthy meals for the children in Hawaii. So there are a whole bunch of people who know what health care really is. It's not that this is a secret. These men and women, they know why Americans are sick, but nothing's been done. Nothing's really been done to make a change. Now, I'm not going to go into the reasons why, because I really don't know. I'm not involved in politics or political fights, but there's been no change made. Obesity in the time of Barack Obama's administration, 8 years, and since Bill Clinton changed his diet 6.5 years ago, obesity has gone from 34% to 38% of our population. 14% of our population now has type 2 diabetes, frank diabetes, and half are pre-diabetic. People are sicker. We have more money spent on drugs today than has ever been spent in the history that we've tracked of drug consumption. There's more money spent on hospitals and doctor's visits and tests and all kinds of pills and treatments than has ever been spent in all of history. So here we have powerful people who know the truth And they have not been able to get things changed over, let's say, the past 8 years. It's been a real failure. Even the Obamacare has a special provision in it which tries to motivate doctors to provide quality, not quantity care. And all of that is addressed in this newsletter, which led me to the second part of the newsletter, and that is what's going to happen. People ask Mr. Trump to improve health care, number one. And we all know what that means. That doesn't mean more bypass surgeries. It doesn't mean more diabetic pills. That doesn't mean more trips to the hospitals and the doctors. What is Mr. Trump going to do? We don't have any idea. None of us do. We just know the reality that he's president-elect. I believe we're starting with a clean slate as far as his knowledge of nutrition. And the reason I say that is there's a picture that all of us have seen, and I also put it in the newsletter, of him sitting in his private jet eating a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken. He is 6'3" and 236 pounds, which borders on the definition of obesity. He's just a couple of points from being called frankly obese. He's on statin drugs, which keeps his cholesterol at a relatively good level, not ideal. And he tells us that he also has a normal blood pressure. He certainly has a lot of endurance. I'm amazed at how he and Hillary Clinton were able to keep up with the schedule that they did for their campaigning. I don't know that I could do that. But anyway, so we have Mr. Trump in a situation where the public is asking for health care. If he's truly going to be the president that delivers what the public is asking for, then he's going to learn the things that Mr. Clinton, Mr. Obama, and the other political people and educated people know. And he's going to help Americans by focusing on the cause of disease, which is the rich Western diet, the animal foods, the oils, and the other junk. And he's going to put programs together that teach us that we need to eat a starch-based diet and teach doctors to take people off drugs, not put on them. And he has that option. Unfortunately, the past has shown other directions in terms of political leadership. There are in 13 states in the United States, there are food disparagement libel laws. There are veggie libel laws. 13 states where you can prosecute people like myself for making disparaging remarks about their products, which we're talking about the dairy and the meat industry, et cetera. It makes it easier to prosecute people under these food libel laws, disparagement laws, veggie libel laws. And that's scary. I'll tell you that's scary. I've known about those laws for a long time. Oprah Winfrey and Howard Lyman were prosecuted by the cattle industry over remarks that were made in 1986 on her show about hamburgers and mad cow disease. They were prosecuted with the use of these laws. So the Trump administration could go more in that direction and turn harder against people who warn the public, disparage companies that truly are fattening and killing us. And if he didn't go that route, he went the route that I'm suggesting, giving real health care, he's going to offend a lot of big businesses. He's going to offend the drug companies, the device companies. He's going to offend the pharmaceutical companies, as I mentioned. He's going to offend all hospitals. He's going to hurt every hospital supported by dietary diseases. Almost all doctors are being supported by dietary diseases. So for me to speak as I do, and I will not stop, you know that, nothing will silence me. As I mentioned in the newsletter, there will be a lot of people if under the Trump rule, the country turns against people who try and tell you the truth like myself. There will be a lot of people who will applaud my new jailhouse accommodations. But they really don't know about me now, and I said nothing's really changed, even though people like Dr. Esselstyn and Campbell and Orange and myself and Bernard and so on have been trying to tell you this. Nothing's changed, so they haven't felt it in their pocketbook. But things are changing, and people are getting to know it, and I would guess business is going to go after those of us who disparage their foods, their products, their drugs, and so on. And it will be a dangerous world. But the public, again, number one, they've asked Donald Trump in the first 100 days to fix healthcare. So if he's going to answer his electorate, if he's going to be honest and truthful, and he certainly is unconventional, he's going to look seriously at this approach and give Americans what they really need, which is their health back. This would be a lot less costly and a lot less drastic than building a wall between the United States and Mexico, or deporting 11 million illegal immigrants. Just changing to a starch-based diet would cost us as the public nothing. It would certainly hurt a lot of businesses, which, as I think we all agree, run the country, not the people. But who knows what Donald Trump's going to do? I certainly hope he makes good choices. I can only fantasize that he'll ask me and the other people who have similar beliefs how he can really help the country, and I'm going to remain hopeful that under his leadership things do change. That's a possibility. I mean, after all, he's certainly a different guy than the rest of the presidents we've seen in the past. Anyway, I hope you enjoy that newsletter. And my daughter, by the way, she wrote me a letter this morning, and she said, "Dad, thank you for not heavily criticizing Donald Trump." And I said, well, I had no reason to heavily criticize him. I'm just asking for his attention and asking him to learn things that everybody else knows. And when I say everybody else, even the meat and dairy industry know this. But because of unique positioning of their products, they have to lie to the public about the needs for calcium and protein and how they have to buy their products and omega-3 fats, and they have to buy the fish, and they have to do that. Well, we'll see what Mr. Trump does. A lot of us have guesses, but I'm not going to guess. I'm just going to hope that he's able to do the right things. And I hope you didn't interpret any political message in what I had to say. It's just the truth as I see it, and I will continue as I have. There are some suggestions that I had for you, and I think I left them out of the room, and that is if you want to join in this, and you know anybody in government, talk to them about what I just said to you. Put them in contact with us and help us change, like Michael Gabbard and Dennis Kucinich have, and the other people I mentioned have tried to do. If you know people in government, try and get their ears so that we can tell them about what's going on. I was going to ask one other thing for people listening to the webinar and anybody else is we're becoming quite successful in taking care of companies, employees. We run two very large company-based programs, one for Whole Foods, the other for an internet communication company. And both of these companies have sent their employees to us on several occasions. And they're going to be sending their employees on many more occasions because they can see the financial benefit to having healthy employees. If you know people at Ford Motor Company or GM or Apple or IBM, people who could learn about what we do and how we can make their employees healthy, in any way you can, get us in contact with these people, the human resource department, better yet, the owner of the company. The guy or gal who writes the check is the one that we need to talk to, because they see the tremendous costs that occur from having sick employees and the tremendous savings. I mean, it's right there. I will have letters from both Whole Foods and this telecommunication company to show any other company our results on what we've done for their employees, permanent changes. We've been doing these kinds of programs for about 4 or 5 years, and we want to do more of them. And so if you know anybody in a sizable company that would be willing to send 50, the last program we had was 120 people from a company, get us in touch with them. And if you do, one of the things in addition to us sending them a marketing package and some telephone conversations is our great host there, Gustavo, is going to get on an airplane and go visit them, right?
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Excited
and we're going
to
to take, we're going if we can change, companies may be losing money, say some of the dairy industry companies or the meat companies or fish companies, they might be losing money, just like the tobacco companies lost a lot of money when Luther Terry came out in 1964 and told the public that smoking was killing the public in the Surgeon General's report on smoking and health. Yeah, some of these companies are going to lose a lot of money. But other companies like Apple, IBM, Ford, General Motors, you could name 500 companies that would make huge amounts of money by improving the health of their employees. So I'll sacrifice big dairy and big meat and big fish. We don't need them. We don't need this sickness. And the employees in these companies, they can go get jobs at other companies that do the right thing. Not destroy our planet and commit cruelty to other animals and sicken the population. 80%, more than 80% of the people in this country are fat and sick. So if we want a future, we need to, you need to help me and Gustavo and the rest of the people out there. You need to help us to make these contacts, to get these governmental and industrial people involved with us, and so we can change the world. And that's all I'm going to say.
Well, and please, everybody, just know that some of the questions that you're typing here, they're really good questions. It's just that we have addressed them in previous webinars. So when you go to Dr. McDougall's website, drmcdougall.com, and you go to webinars, we've been doing this, Dr. McDougall, for 2 years now, or almost. So we have hundreds of webinars.
That's almost 100 webinars.
That is, and we've been here every week for you. So just please try and go and look for the webinar that is about the topic that you're interested in, because most likely your question will be answered there. But one more thing, remember to send questions to this email address, which is webinar@drmcdougall.com, and we collect the questions, and hopefully next time we can address more. But can I go ahead and ask maybe a couple of Dr. McDougall here that people are asking?
The search box on our website. It's amazing.
The search box. Oh, yeah.
It'll not only pull up things about the webinar, but dozens of lectures that I and other experts have given, and McDougall's moments where I've discussed these things, articles I've written. The search box is phenomenal, and giving you the written and video material that you're asking about. There are very few topics that people ask me about that aren't addressed on the website. We've been doing this website since 2002, so we've been doing it for 14 years. I've been putting on a newsletter every month for 14 years. Oh, actually longer than that, since 1968. But it's been on the internet for 14 years.
Yes, and they're all archived there, so that's a great source of information. Dr. McDougall, can you just quickly comment on both hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism, and how does the diet help or not?
Well, I don't know what causes hyperthyroidism. I suspect it's an environmental chemical that does that, based on some of the research that I've read. So I can't really address hyperthyroidism, that is excess thyroid, to any degree. I probably could study and learn more about it and give you a better answer. I don't see much hyperthyroidism. It's treated with I-131 radiation and surgery, which removes the thyroid. It's also treated with propylthiouracil, PTU, which when people take that drug, it goes away in about a year, and maybe 40% of people. So you don't have to necessarily have radiation or surgery. There's a medication that I've used for almost 50 years that I've been in medicine, and other doctors use too. Now, hypothyroidism is due to an autoimmune reaction. They call it autoimmune thyroiditis. It's where the body's immune system attacks the thyroid gland. It's also known as Hashimoto's thyroiditis. He's a Japanese scientist who first described this. So it's an autoimmune disease where the body attacks the thyroid gland. And it's through a process called molecular mimicry. You can look it up on the internet to learn about it. These autoimmune diseases based on molecular mimicry, they cause type 1 diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, and so on. And we know, for example, type 1 diabetes is caused in many, if not all or most cases, is caused by dairy protein, by beta casein protein. We've identified the 17 amino acids that are involved. What happens is this foreign protein, beta casein, cow's milk, goes through the gut wall into the bloodstream, and the body recognizes this as foreign. And so it makes antibodies against this cow protein. Well, in the process of making antibodies against this foreign cow milk protein, it finds a similar sequence of amino acids. We've identified these 17 amino acids. This was published in the New England Journal of Medicine in 1992. These 17 amino acids also appear on the surface of the beta cells of the pancreas, the insulin-producing cells of the pancreas. And while they're trying to attack the cow milk protein, those 17 amino acids, they find the same amino acids, same structure on the beta cells, and they destroy the pancreas. It takes about 1 to 5 years to destroy the pancreas. And that's how you get type 1 diabetes. Well, that's how you get rheumatoid arthritis also. It's the body, when you consume foreign proteins, in particular cow's milk, it makes antibodies to the cow's milk that attack the tissues around the joints, and you get inflammatory arthritis, rheumatoid, lupus, psoriatic arthritis, and so on. So when we talk about thyroid, you have to think that hypothyroidism is caused by the body attacking the thyroid. It's called autoimmune thyroiditis. Well, what initiates the body to attack your thyroid? Now, you have to kind of believe me now, because I can't give you the direct evidence, either because it hasn't been published or never will be published. But this is what I think happens, is when people consume foreign thyroid glands, those thyroid glands get into the bloodstream, and the body makes antibody to these foreign thyroid glands. And these antibodies, they not only attack the foreign thyroid glands, they attack your own thyroid gland. Now, how do we end up eating foreign thyroid glands? It's called hot dogs. It's called sausage. You know, when you go to a slaughterhouse after they strip the layers of muscle off, then what they do with the remainder of the parts, the spleens, the lymph nodes, the lips, the scrotums, the vaginas, the thyroid glands, what they do is they grind them up and they make something called sausage. You know, there's a saying, that if anybody knew what went into the sausage, they'd never eat it. So I think you get hypothyroidism, autoimmune thyroiditis, by consuming foreign thyroid glands in the form of these processed meats. Now, once your thyroid gland is destroyed, just like once your pancreas is destroyed, it's all over. It doesn't grow back. You have to take supplementation. In the case of the thyroid, you take levothyroxine. I don't use animal thyroid. I use synthetic thyroid, like thyroid levothyroxine. And in the case of the pancreas, you take insulin if the destruction is great enough. So that's the dietary connection. And hopefully it'll be enough to help you prevent yourself from developing autoimmune diseases, which are a great number: ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, arthritis, multiple sclerosis is another one. Yeah.
Right. Dr. McDougall, what about some of the processed foods because you mentioned vegan, and of course a lot of vegans eat a lot of processed foods. What kind of processed foods do you allow in your program, if any?
Well, processing goes at various levels, and the less processing, the better. But even cooking is processing food. Right. Yeah. Right. Unfortunately, there are very few starches you can eat uncooked. You can't eat brown rice uncooked. It's tough to eat
or potato
uncooked. So the human diet is not only a starch-based diet, it's a cooked food diet, but that is processing. The next step in processing would be grinding the food, as they used to take corn and with a pestle mortar, they would grind up the corn into a flour. And, you know, that's pretty good stuff, is corn flour. And likewise, the whole grain wheat flour is good stuff, makes great bread. And we think that's good to eat, and pasta. As you further do the alteration of the food, cooking and then grinding, and then extracting some of the nutrients like the fiber out of the bread, as you continue to do that, it becomes less of a healthy natural food. But we do use foods processed to that point. We use tofu as a condiment, and but that's pretty much the best thing is that, you know, people talk about a whole food plant-based diet. Well, I don't call it a whole food plant-based diet because that could be kale and broccoli. I call it a starch-based diet, but it is whole food.
Right.
And the more whole food, the better. So in answer to your question, just to get to the bottom line, the body tolerates white rice. I mean, after all, a few years ago, there were 2 billion Asians living on white rice. People living on white rice, 90% of the diet is white rice. We almost lost World War II to people living on white rice, and we did lose the Vietnam conflict from people who lived on white rice. So, you know, it's not a deal breaker, processing, but it's not making the food better. And I encourage you to eat things more whole grain. And if that's not your choice, you want to eat white rice rather than brown rice, I think you'll do fine. You know, it's not something I'm going to fight you about. I am going to fight you about the steak and the cheddar cheese and the fish.
The fish.
Yeah.
Right here. Let me bring up this question that someone turned in by email. The old question has been how much protein is needed by the body. We have heard that our meat, animal protein intake is excessive. Is there also a danger to excessive vegetable proteins? Are proteins not equal?
Vegetable proteins are not as toxic as animal protein, but isolated soy protein is toxic, causes bone loss, kidney and liver damage. Isolated wheat protein, which is called seitan, causes bone loss. So vegetable proteins are not good either. These pea proteins and so on are not good. You ask how much protein you need. Well, at the greatest time of growth in your life, the first 2 years of your life, your ideal food without argument is human breast milk, and that's 5% protein. So never in your life will you require more than 5% protein. On the Kempner diet, which I've talked to you about, a diet of rice and sugar and fruit juice, on the Kempner diet, because of the level of failure of some of his patients, of their kidneys and heart, the amount of protein in the white rice he served was too much for them to handle. And so he added sugar to cut down on the amount of protein. And so you get calories without the excess protein. The human body probably needs 3% of its diet as protein. It's almost impossible to get a, okay, so.
So here they are all cooked.
Okay, I need to get you here.
Camera, now I'm going to go mash them.
Well, you better hurry up or I'm going to be in big trouble there. All right, show them your picture.
Let's see if we can get the camera there.
There you go.
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
wow. Yes.
And I'm going to go mash them with the skins on, and I'll be right back.
All right.
All right. Very good.
This is tonight's dinner, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. This is nothing special we planned for you. But this is what we eat. Mashed potatoes or creamy gravy, some frozen corn. I mean, you got time to do that. And put a little sriracha sauce on it or some of your other favorite sauces, and you can eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yes.
And,
sure. That Instant Pot has saved. Yes, it's wonderful.
Yeah, we're gonna buy one for the program. Most of our chefs who teach at the program. By the way, we start a program tomorrow. Well, I should tell you something else. Mary has sold out all the rooms to Kauai except for one. So we've taken the sign up for our Kauai trip at the end of January off the website. It's listed as sold out. But if you want to come to Kauai with us, you can call Carol at our 800 number and get on a waiting list, because inevitably somebody has to cancel.
Right.
And, but right now she's got one room left, and that's probably sold also. Yeah. So, but some people will cancel. We got 2 months before we go. It's an amazing trip, and we got some really nice people to come along with us.
Good.
So,
yes, I
anyway,
know. I can't wait.
To repeat, you're going to find me your government power-related contacts, and you're going to find me your power-related contacts in various industries, so we can start working with people who can help us change the world.
Right, because I mean, we do need the people that have influence at different levels.
Yeah, we need a lot of. Okay, here we go.
You're gonna have to adjust.
I will give you my camera again.
Plate and everything.
Okay, there you go. You see the corn and the gravy right over here.
Oh yeah. You are making all of us too. So
it came out of a package, frozen whole corn. All she did was steam it. You can boil it. And this is the creamy gravy, which is, amazing. It is, better than any turkey-based gravy I used to eat. And my comparison is the same as other people's as far as that gravy goes. It's just phenomenal. So what we will do at the end of the day is, after we're doing all our jobs and duties today, is we'll sit down in front of the TV, watch what's going on with Mr. Trump in the world.
That's
and
right.
We will put together mashed potatoes. Okay, you're going to do it for us.
Yeah, well, wasn't that the idea?
Go ahead.
I know it must smell really.
You're a great partner I have.
Right, this is how they look.
Let's see how it looks.
Okay.
And you use and you just use the potato. Okay, I see by hand.
She did not take the skins off.
The skin off.
You can't get the camera.
Mary, did you buy? Are those organic potatoes or just regular?
Just
regular old potatoes, probably. There you go.
All right. And of course, no oil, right?
So just see the potato masher she used.
I just mashed in the pan.
Did she use some of the water?
No, I'm gonna
Did you add water to
the potatoes?
I left a little bit of water in the pan when I cooked the potatoes.
Right.
And
Right.
All right, babe, throw this together. We got to get out of here.
All right.
Oh my goodness! That looks
all the way across town in 15 minutes.
All right, there's the potato.
Oh,
you see
boy.
that?
Oh, yeah.
I'll eat 2 or 3
my
times.
favorite.
So
Oh yeah.
And there's the gravy.
You didn't bring the sriracha sauce in.
Well,
that's all right. You have to, what sriracha sauce is. And then just throw corn over.
Just throw a little corn over the top.
And she'll eat.
That's dinner.
And then put.
And that's dinner.
But see, she'll eat a bowl this size. I'll eat 2 or 3 of these bowls.
And
the nice thing is even if you overeat, you don't get sick like when you overeat. We'll go to bed sometimes at night after dinner and we'll say, boy, we really ate a lot of food and we really are full, but we're not sick full.
Right.
You don't feel the pain and the nausea that you do, but you really do feel full. So
right.
Anyway,
let's
see if Mary has any other good words for us. Mary, are you pretty much finished?
I'm done.
Okay. Well, thank you,
right.
Mary, so much.
It was a great time together, folks. We'll be together next Thursday. I'll be with you.
Actually, next Thursday we have Dr. Lyle, and then the week after, it's going to be back to you, Dr. McDougall. Well, we'll see you. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
We'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks, Gustavo. Thank you, folks.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you all. Bye-bye.